Hello, Monique here. I'm just gonna go ahead and jump right into um, my critical race theory presentation. So I'm just gonna be going off and following the prompts that we've been given. So first thing, examining and understanding your own racial identity development. For me, understanding the racial identity development theory and coming to my own racial identity. I first had to understand that society and its own levels and acceptances are very present. So I feel like as social workers, while trying to advocate for others and understanding this theory, is critical in our current day because unfortunately that matters. It carries over, especially when it comes to race and class, as well as those biases and disparities that we've discussed within this class. My own racial identity came into light as I became older, um, and viewed how systems are biased, especially the unfairness and even learning about the heavy negative effects of classism within society. Um, and those many factors as well, your built in environment, all of those external factors as well, are constantly affecting this development. And this helped me understand my racial identity as it has helped me prepare to face and combat the biases and challenges that people we work with will also be able to face, or that unfortunately will be faced with. Um, so I love the question, what informed your racial identity development? I feel as though I was informed of my racial identity, again, by the encounters and experiences that I feel like I had while growing up in a household that was very um, poverty, being raised by a single mom, and also living in a household that was also being run by my grandmother, who was also a single mom with several kids. Um, and so, again, and so many people in this class as well, just having those um, experiences of parents working long hours or just not being able to be a very present part in education for them through no fault of their own, as well as mine working long field hours and working in agriculture in Central California. Um, but so, with this in mind, during my junior year in high school, we moved to a state that was very predominantly Caucasian, um, and having the experience where my sister and I are excited to ride a school bus, and then getting on that bus, and then within the first couple seconds, being told that our kind sits at the back of the bus, and luckily, immediate action was taken by the bus driver and by other students, but just really understanding that separation immediately. Um, and so again, I was aware of those disparity and incidences of what I considered to be um, snobby and privileged, but I never realized fully the experiences that affected my racial identity until I was put into this new environment. Um, and so, following that next question prompt, what is the role of race in framing your racial identity? Explain when you first became aware of your racial self and how was it manifested. So I feel like going again off of my previous experience, that was probably the first time in my life where I definitely felt like here's a disparity, here is an active form of racism, just blatant bias. Um, and so yeah, that manifested through her and that change of environment. Unfortunately, and I do realize that that is a privilege in its own to not have to live in that uncomfortability and then moving to a place where I became an extreme minority, um, having that experience where I was in a completely different environment. A lot of people don't get to experience that. Um, so, um, Next question in the prompt. So, describe a time when you experienced or witnessed institutionalized racism that was influential in your becoming aware of racial disparities throughout society. Um, so for me, this was really strong and empowering to learn about. So the one that I wanted to focus on was unequal school funding within education. So this disparity that happens within the school education system shows how education funding directly affects student experiences. And I love that we learned about that in the critical race theory. Well, not loved, but grateful that we've learned about this because um, my husband grew up in a town just 22 minutes from where I came from, and reflecting on different experiences that we've had, we realize even though we were just 22 minutes away and just a one school district away, we had completely different experiences, completely different school education experiences. Um, so this one specific experience that was really influential again in me becoming aware of racial disparities throughout society. So again, within that education system, um, oops, sorry, I lost my spot. So in again talking about the differences between mine and my husband's, for us, any extracurricular except for the main sports like football or cheerleading or things like that, um, specifically for me doing band and choir, um, we had to fundraise for every single event. We had to car washes, sell candy just to be able to buy our entry into it, and never included transportation. And so one event was our choir wanting to participate in local competition with other schools in Central California. And so, again, very common. Everybody either carpooled from a parent or a sibling, or somebody's mom had a van and everybody would just kind of carpool with them. Um, and so, while being dropped off by a friend's parent at the competition, she had dropped us off at the wrong location and we were a bit confused. And so, all of a sudden, we found ourselves at a drop off for all of these school buses, and all of these big, large choir groups came out, and they were all very matching, very uniform. And our choir, again, just never really thought about it, but we were like, we're all just going to wear the color blue, and let's try to have it be as close to this shade of blue or green or red, or it was never just a uniform experience. Um, and so we were confronted by a teacher from another school, and we explained that we had carpooled, and he asked, like, why didn't you guys take the bus? Like, where's your guys' bus? Did you just get late? Or maybe you're here to watch the show because you guys aren't really in uniform. And we had informed them that we don't really use buses, and this was our uniform. And the that specific teacher informed or not informed, but he was just like, are you guys from this school or this school district? And we said, yes, we are. And he said, oh, okay, this makes sense now. And so he just directed us towards the entry, and he's like, your choir will find you there. But this was an example of that educational disparity of institutionalized racism, and those racial disparities that got reinforced by the comments of that teacher, saying like, oh, it's normal for somebody in that school district to not have the funding or the look of it. So that makes sense. It's just very interesting how that, like, little comments like that can reinforce all of these biases and institutional racism and negative funding that the critical race theory specifically tries to address. Um, so in next prompt, identify which of Erikson's psychosocial stages of development you're in when I experienced this, and how did the events occurring in that developmental stage influence your perception of the event? So this event occurred when I was in middle adolescence. Um, in that specific moment, I know that I expressed a bit of anxiety and a little bit of stress and just a little bit of fear. But I was mostly just not wanting to get in trouble by our director. And it was also just being more excited about um, getting to leave class a little early just to be able to go and participate this, or having another opportunity to go and interact with my friends. Um, um, and so in my early adolescence, I can't say that these particular things um, bothered me. Again, like I mentioned, I was just excited to be getting out of class and doing just what I thought was having fun. Which again I realize is a privilege that I've had, that I didn't immediately, get to like advocate or talk to that teacher like, hey, this isn't okay. It was mostly just I'm just gonna like my ignorance is just kind of taking me by right now. Um, but I really became aware of the unfairness of it, and for someone, but that experience also again made me become really aware of all the unfairness of it. And for somebody within that middle adolescence, like Erickson psychological stages are explaining, we're trying to discover our sense of identity and our social awareness. And so I was immediately self aware of our lack of resources and the classism that was existing, the validation of those negative comments by the teacher, and then just the we're all just going to wear a matching color. And it was just, again, validated by comments. As an adult, I can see that there's a lot of unfair disadvantages that can be taken from that experience, a lack of opportunities that can again happen, but um, just wanting to hurry because I realized my video is so long. I'm so sorry. I tried multiple times to try to shorten this down. So the last prompt, um, describe one action and share how I would respond differently. I feel like one action that can be taken to challenge these power structures would be to collaborate with community groups and ensure that not just all districts are receiving fair transportation, but that all districts within that same county are receiving the same support. So, regardless of schools like my husband's, where they had a very active booster club, parental support, um, a ton of interactions with law enforcement, being at pep rallies and things like that, that there was an equal opportunity of that to happen within schools that are considered lower performing. Um, I additionally believe that the opportunity to educate peers and staff would be a great foundation to address the biases that the teachers in that scenario with my choir, because again, those comments can just reinforce all of those scenarios. And while the teacher might not have been malicious in the phrase, well, that makes sense. It just reinforms the systemic racism and classism. Um, but yeah, that is my very long, lengthy video for my critical race theory presentation. Thank you.